testing my audio. I've got a new computer.
Yeah, we can hear you, Marie.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Aristico, I've got 3:30 on the clock. Are we ready to start the meeting?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, we're good to go.
Okay, I do understand that we have one member of the public that would like to potentially address the panel on item number 1.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, when we get to that portion of the agenda, I'll turn it over to you for that. And with that, I'll say good afternoon and welcome to everyone to the development permit panel of Wednesday, April 16th. On the panel today, we have myself, Wayne Craig, the General Manager of Planning and Development, Marie Fenwick, Director of Arts and Culture, and Roland Zwag, the General Manager of Engineering and Public Works. We also have city staff present from the Development Applications Department to provide information about the applications on the agenda. The panel deals with items of form and character, things such as parking, access, architecture, landscaping, exterior lighting, etc. The panel does not deal with manners of use or density, as those are established by City Council through the zoning process. In terms of the order of business today, once an application is introduced, there will be a presentation from the applicant's consultant team. There will then be comments from city staff. There will be an opportunity for panel members to ask any questions of city staff or the applicant. Any members of the public who wish to address the panel will then be given an opportunity to provide us with their commentary. We will also read any letters into the public record before there is a panel deliberation on the application. If an application is endorsed by the panel, it would proceed to City Council for their consideration once any conditions associated with the application have been addressed. What is of note is that when an application does proceed to City Council, it is done so as a non-delegation item. So if any member of the public wishes to provide comments on the application, today is your opportunity to do so. With that, I'll now turn our attention to the agenda. The first item on the agenda is the adoption of the minutes of the development permit panel held on March 26th of 2025. Roland, Marie, may I have Roland move? Marie seconded. All those in favor? Thank you. Those minutes have been adopted. The first item on our agenda today is development permit number 18-829-108. The applicant is Art Homes Limited. The property location is 4400, 4420, and 4440 Smith Crescent. The Purpose of the application is that a development permit be issued, which would permit the construction of 34 townhouse units at 4400, 4420, 4440 Smith Crescent on a site zoned high-density townhouse RTH1 zone, and to vary the provisions of the zoning bylaw to increase the ratio of residential parking provided in a tandem arrangement from 50% to 62%. With that, Peter, are you providing the presentation for item number 1?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, if you could introduce yourself, name and address for the record, and then share screen for your presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so my name is Peter Fan Chen, architect, AIBC, and good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. I'm here to present our proposed townhouse project, and let me do a share screen right now. Okay,
Thanks, we can see it.
so everything is all right?
Yes, thank you.
Great. Okay, so which I believe this project will not only contribute to the city's goals around increasing the residential density, but more importantly, will help to create a beautiful, family-oriented community for 34 families. This project is designed with people in mind, and it's about building a place where family can truly thrive. And this is a context plan, and so pedestrian circulation is carefully considered throughout the entire site. And we have walkable pathways that allow people to comfortably move around the entire project site. And you can see that this is our project site, and currently we have a Smith Crescent sidewalk along here, and there's an existing trail on the east side of the property. And by creating this community, and also we have a south walkway connecting Smith Crescent to the trail on the east side of the property. And also there's a Hamilton Park here, so that the people, pedestrian can truly walk around this project. And this is some street views. And we provide a key pedestrian connection between Hamilton Park and the trail path on the east side of the project site. And so this is a site plan. And so we have internal driveway provides vehicle access to each individual garage, and internal pedestrian walkways are designed with contrasting paving colors for clarity and wayfinding. And you can see that not just walk around the project, and then for the residents in this community. So we have been considering to bring people in, and they can walk through each townhouse unit, and you can see the circulation path as indicated as the blue arrows. So this is a 3D view looking from this is Smith Crescent, and this is the main entry of the community. So this is internal driveway coming from Smith Crescent into each individual townhouse units. And also we have a central garbage rooms for easy access for waste management, and the outdoor amenity space includes playground for family and the children, which is here. And also pedestrian-oriented lighting for safety. So we have street lights, bollard LED lights, and the wall-mounted scone lighting throughout the entire community. And so that you can also see that each home has its own private front yard, which is on the opposite side of the parking garage. So it's pretty much separate, so people can enjoy the quality time in their front yard. And also they won't be able to see the vehicle kind of traveling and entering into the parking garage. And about the architectural design. So the architectural design language is inspired by modern Scandinavian design, and with clean lines, simplicity, and the functional elegance. Traditional pitched roof forms transform into a modern way. So we have this kind of triangular framing element. This is transformed from the traditional slope roof, but we use this framing element to more emphasize, to create some visual interest for each individual townhouse unit. And this is also looking from the main entry from Smith Crescent into the community. So you can see the big trees are preserved here, and there's a amenity space for playground for families, and also front yard fronting to Smith Crescent. And so some 3D views showing the architectural language, and with different kind of we have two different color schemes. So one lighter color scheme, more like a kind of white shingles, and the other one is a darker color scheme with more like wood textures. So based on these two color schemes, and we kind of had some kind of visual arrangement to make the each building from building 1 to building 6 has its own character. So this is looking down from the main entry. This is on the opposite side. From the east side of the property, this is the trail. And the elevation, so right now introducing the elevation from building 1 to building 6. So based on the similar language, similar elements, but we had an arrangement, so we kind of create different pattern. So there's a dark color scheme, lighter color scheme, and you see the change of the pattern and creates different kind of interests. Different visual interest, and then some units has bay window, and we have a different configuration of balconies. Although they are the same languages, but based on this arrangement, so we make each building has its own character, and also has an unit has slightly different window design, so give it more characters. And this is building 4, although it has bay window, but it's connecting from level 2 to level 3. So building 5 is slightly wider than the other townhouse units, and a little bit wider bay window design. And material-wise, so it's focused on minimalist architectural approach, and we'll also focus on durability and the sustainability, and wood grain, fiber cement siding, and shingles, and also Scandinavian inspired color palette. And the lower level will be ledger stone, and the upper level will be more like pre-framed by the same architectural language, but slightly minor arrangement to make it different for each individual unit. And also consider about the senior citizens, senior residents in the community. So we have 3 convertible units, and so this is supporting for aging in place, and so it accommodates the also comply to accessibility space requirements. So each space, these 2 units are slightly bigger than the other typical townhouse units, and the space were designed to comply to those clearance for wheelchair, for accessibility, doorways, and also most importantly, we have stair lift. So the stairs will be able to accommodate the future renovation to have a stair lift, so the senior person can sit on the stair lift equipment to travel from level 1 to level 3 bedrooms. Okay, so then I will leave the landscape part to our landscape architect to continue the presentation.
Thank you. Good afternoon, all. My name is Denitsa Dimitrova, PMG Landscape Architect. This landscape for this project have been designed to incorporate existing trees proposed for retention from arborists for this project along east property, northeast side, and for 2 big maple trees on south west corner where the amenity area is located. For these areas, we are retaining existing grade, and no proposed construction work should be done under arborist supervision. As Peter said, each unit has been provided with a private yard with shade tree and landscape with proposed some shrubs, grasses, perennials. Streetscape have been improved with low transparent aluminum fencing, which is set back in 2 feet, so will soften the streetscape viewing from the sidewalk. Privacy from adjacent properties have been created with 6 feet wood fence along north and west property lines, and 1 meter fencing along south property lines where small retaining walls have been proposed just along the walkway connecting the street and trail. We have been provided a trailing structure at each end of internal driveway and pedestrian entrance to the site, which again soften bigger paved areas. And in addition, we're providing a cable trailing system, which again helps to soften that area between garages to the units. Actually, we've done a lot of work to make it more livable and to visibly reduce bigger paving areas. Amenity space include 2 types seating areas. One is by Muglin type regular benches, which are 2, and just different kind of seating, log type seating we call it. This is for people, for neighboring to socialize, and for caregivers who will take care of the kids who is using a play equipment.
Sorry, Nesta, if I could just interrupt. Do you have
Yes.
a blow-up image or a different slide that would have more detail of the...
Yes. Peter, please, could you go down? We have enlargement up. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's black and white. So we choose actually play equipment which is wheelchair accessible, and multiple kids can use it. And the age range is between 18 months to 5 years old. And because we are providing that log sitting type areas, even older teenager kids can use it at the same time. So it's a pretty big play area with multiple activities like sliding, climbing, imagination, balancing, or just socializing. Permeable pavers in 3 different colors have been used for driveway and for visitor parking spots, which again soften and this big paving area and make it kind of divided in different sections, like providing more visible pedestrian access between the amenity space and some units, entrance, and the mailbox location. And this is pretty much everything for the landscape proposed for this project. I'm open for questions.
All right, thank you very much. Peter, you can stop sharing your screen for the moment. Josh, any staff comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair, just a couple comments if I may. So the project does include 3 convertible units, as was mentioned, that are convertible for by way of a stair lift being installed in the future. There are aging in place features provided in all 34 units. The noted variance with respect to the ratio of tandem parking from 50% to 62% is largely a result of the ability to achieve the flood construction level. This is typical of Hamilton, where many of the garages are located at the ground plane and the habitable space is then located above. The project has been designed to achieve step code level 3 of the BC Energy step code with the maximum emission level of 4. There is a 6-meter wide strollway that's being provided along the south property line and consistent with the Hamilton area plan. There is also a servicing agreement, the strollway along the south side of the property is currently 6 meters, will be expanded in the future upon redevelopment of the property to the south to a total width of 12 meters. A servicing agreement is required prior to rezoning bylaw adoption. The servicing agreement will include frontage improvements along Smith Crescent, construction of the strollway, as well as improvements to the path within the Highway 91A road allowance to the east of the site and service connections. That's all.
Thank you. Roland, Marie, any questions for the applicant or for staff?
Yes, I have a question for the applicant. I'm just wondering if you can speak a little bit more to the design considerations for the development, because you're bringing density into a neighborhood where there is not a lot of density right now, and what considerations do you have, including around lighting for neighboring residents?
Okay. Yes, so we, at the same time, when we're trying to achieve the maximum buildable area, the maximum density allowable in this area, we also did a really careful arrangement to make sure that each townhouse unit will also has its own front yard, and also the front yard is separate from the internal driveway. And so we have some quality space the family can spend. And also, if we look at the building 2 and 3 on the site plan, so actually the 2 buildings are kind of the front yard are kind of facing to each other. So there's a central pathway in between the two rows of front yards. So it kind of creates more like a community kind of sense of living. So not just about increasing the density, but we also wants to make sure this is a great neighborhood, a great community for the residents to have their family there. And also at the same time, we also consider about the circulation throughout the property. So also the both front yard for building 1 and 4, they are facing the east side of the property and also the west side of the property. So we kind of use the front yard as a kind of buffering from the existing trail and also the existing Smith Crescent sidewalk. So we also consider about to have proper setback and proper buffering, landscape buffering, to ensure to have a quality living in this community. And about lighting, and we have also had several bollard lights and also a scone light wall mount, trying to make sure that during the nighttime this neighborhood will be properly lit up and properly visual, have some good visibility when people walk around the sidewalk. Yeah.
Thank you.
Roland, any questions?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. They're mostly clarifying questions. the landscape architect mentioned fencing, and I was reading the report on page 4, and I wasn't sure when I was looking at the report and the renderings where the fencing exactly is going to be. The architect mentioned there's fencing on the west side as well, but I don't see that in the rendering, so just looking for clarification whether or not there actually will be fencing or more of those hedges.
So on the landscape plan, we have like separate sheet showing just fencing, proposed fencing. So I will just clarify, we have 6 feet wood fence along north and west property line. Along south property line, we have small retaining wall and 1 meter high wood fencing. And street frontage, it's 1 meter aluminum transparent fencing proposed. So along south property line, actually, we have 2 rows, like one is just along the property line, and second fencing is defining the people's private yards. There we have like fencing with gates, so that will separate private yards from the walkway and that pedestrian access between, the street and the trail.
Sorry, do you need me to share the screen again? Is that going to be easier to show?
I think the 3D, they don't show the fencing at the property line, so probably that way there is a little bit confusion about the fencing.
When you mentioned there's fencing on the west side, and I'm looking at the rendering, the west property lines are essentially the end of the backyards or the front yards of the people, so I don't understand why a 6-foot fence is going there. But again.
Oh no, west east side.
East side, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, east. If I said west, my apologies. East side. Yeah. Oh my. Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, and then a follow-up question, because you mentioned that retaining wall. I was going to ask about that.
Yeah.
And that retaining wall is at the end of the 6-meter strollway, and that's going to be removed when the property to the south develops. I'm trying to seek some clarity on what's being proposed and why a retaining wall is needed, or perhaps it's an existing retaining wall.
So it's have been designed from civil, and at this moment we have grade change between the both sides. And so to retain our site, it's a bit higher than existing. So that we are proposing, it's various, but it's very small retaining wall. So to retain a safety and dividing the property line between the both sides, that's why we're providing 1 meter fencing along the south.
Josh, maybe if I could ask you to comment on the strollway along the south property line, how the existing condition would be through this development, and then how that would be changed in the future, and if with that you could just confirm that the walkway itself will be fully accessible in terms of from Smith Crescent to the trail on Highway 91.
Yes, thank you. Through the chair, the retaining wall proposed is along the south property line of the current property. Upon redevelopment of any of the lands to the south, those lands would also be raised in order to meet the grade of the proposed walkway on the site. The strollway is envisioned as having an ultimate width of 12 meters. There's a 6-meter wide SRW being provided on this property, and that would be expanded by 6 meters on this property to the south to have an ultimate condition of a 12-meter wide strollway that would connect between Smith Crescent and the Highway 91 trail, all at the same grade and level. There would be no change in elevation that would require any steps or ramps.
Yeah.
And the fencing that's proposed now is essentially for the privacy of the adjacent property to the south, while the it is maintained as a single-family residence, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Roland, does that answer your question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to staff and the applicants. One final question, and I think the architect mentioned, I think I heard a central waste location, but I don't know if I understood that clearly because I don't see that on the drawings either.
Okay, that's actually right here. So there's a building 1, 2, 3. It's at the very end of this building number 3. And if you see from the this rendering, so it's right here.
Okay, thank you. It's an enclosed area. Thank you so much.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. I do have one question in relation to the landscaping, and I guess I'm looking for some comment from the landscape architect. I do appreciate the efforts that have been made to retain the existing sort of focal tree adjacent to the amenity space, the existing trees in the northeast corner of the site. I'm just wondering if you could comment on how the retention of these trees is limiting your ability to provide additional on-site replanting. So, this project has quite a low lot coverage. There seems to be a tremendous amount of green space being maintained, but we are providing a number of the replacement trees through a cash in lieu contribution. So I'm just wondering if you could comment on how the retention of those trees is placing or influencing your replanting plan.
So for areas in tree protection zone, as I said, we are retaining the existing grade, and we are removing a 6-inch maximum by hand existing landscape, and we are planting a small size plants. And actually under the trees, we know we have an experienced lawn. It's not very good developed with the years. So that's why actually for those units, for building 4, actually we are providing patio area, which owners can use, and the rest it's planted or we are replacing. Usually we provide like lawn areas, but in this case we are providing like mulch access between the units. So this is, and everything we are not providing anything than fencing into protection zone. So we are reducing construction work in that area and planting its shade tolerance and in small size planting.
So if I understand, the retention of these trees is placing some limitations on the amount of new trees that can be planted on the site.
No new trees are planted in this area.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, you can stop sharing screen, Peter. Rustico, I understand we have a interested party that would like to potentially address the panel.
Yes, Mr. Chair. There's a member of the public here wanting to delegate on this item.
All right, if you could welcome them to the podium and just ask them to provide their name and address for the record and whatever comments they may have.
Yes. Good afternoon. I'm Gordon Hoy, and I am the property owner, my wife and myself, of the adjacent property to the south, 4460 Smith Crescent. We noticed last year, once the pre-fill had been put in, that whenever it rained, there were huge puddles in our backyard, and we couldn't use the yard anymore until that drained. It took a couple of weeks for this to drain. What we're wondering is what is the company going to do to address the drainage issue of the added weight and therefore the push of the water to our side? Is there some kind of drainage, some kind of piping? We would like to know what's their plan for mitigating this problem.
All right, is there any additional question, or is it just specific to the drainage? We will definitely get you an answer.
One other question. I'm wondering at what height are these buildings going to be built? That is, you speak of the grade. How high is that above what the ground is now?
Okay. Any additional questions? We'll get them all out and then we'll get you some answers.
One other thing, I'm wondering why the fence that you're proposing for the south perimeter alongside the walkway would only be 1 meter
Okay.
rather than the 2 on the north and the west sides.
Sure. All right. Josh, maybe if I could ask you to address the majority of these questions. So in terms of drainage, if you would be able to comment on what would be required in terms of perimeter drainage on site through the building permit, and then also what sort of drainage would be associated with the servicing agreement for the introduction of the strollway. If you're able to comment on the overall building height, and then in terms of the fence height and how fence height is calculated to take into account the retaining wall height.
That's right.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So with respect to the drainage, as part of the building permit application, the applicant will be required to install perimeter drainage around the entirety of the property to ensure that any stormwater runoff is maintained on site. The applicant does propose a sophisticated drainage program on site as well, too, that has much of the drainage funneling to the southeast corner of the property, where there is a detention tank that will release water into the storm system in a measured manner, so as to avoid overloading or causing any concerns. Drainage and improvements within the strollway will be reviewed as part of the servicing agreement application as well. The current grade of the property, or proposed grade of the property at the property line, is approximately 1.2 meters in height. As noted by the project architect, the proposed 1 meter fence, or landscape architect, the proposed 1 meter fence along the property line does take into account the increased height for the retaining wall along the property edge. The city's bylaw does prohibit fence heights of greater than 2 meters, and so the intention of the smaller height fence in this area is so as to not create undue hardship on the property owner to the south, where they would be looking at a retaining wall plus a fence of greater than 2 meters.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for taking the time to attend today's meeting.
Thank you. Oh, and one other thing, do we have any recourse on this? Should either nothing been done, or it's ineffectual in terms of drainage of the property? It's quite bad in the winter, eh? The backyard is full of water.
Yes, what I will do is if you could provide your name and address, or your name and contact information to the clerks in the room, we'll make sure that a city staff member is in touch with you, gives you their contact information should there be any concerns raised as we move forward, and then we will do what we can to make sure there are no adverse impacts or on your property. We do find, just as a piece of information, with much development, what we see is, especially with these older lots, that there was no perimeter drainage when they were first developed. So the introduction of the perimeter drainage as part of redevelopment does go a long way to addressing drainage concerns, but we'll make sure you have the appropriate contact information for city staff should you encounter future problems.
Okay. And the large maple tree, that's going to be saved, isn't it? Out front?
Yes. Yes, there will be.
Okay. You understand that that was 5 minutes from being cut before I notified the cutters that that had to be saved. It's a heritage tree.
Yeah. Yes, there will be.
And I'd also caution them to watch out about the crowding of the new soil around the root base area. It's gotten
Yes.
smaller and smaller, and that tree is huge. It needs lots of wet ground, okay? It is
Absolutely.
blooming. It is blooming, so it survived the winter. Thank you.
Thank you. Ristico, anyone else wishing to delegate?
There's no one else, Mr. Chair.
All right, well, that brings any written correspondence?
Nothing, Mr. Chair.
All right, panel deliberation. Marie, Roland, comments?
Thank you for your presentation. I don't have any other comments or questions.
Yeah, same here, Mr. Chair. It was a good presentation. I appreciated the opportunity to provide some clarifying questions with respect to the fencing and the grading, so no further comments.
All right, I just encourage the applicant to make sure that they're engaged with their neighbors, that they're working cooperatively with their neighbors through the construction process. And with that, I will call the question on this item. Anyone willing to move the staff recommendation?
Well, move it, Mr. Chair.
Marie, second?
Seconded.
All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you very much. Your application will proceed to council once you've addressed the conditions. Again, I do request that you make sure that your neighbor to the south has your contact information and that you are engaged with them through the construction process. That brings us to the next item on the agenda. That is development permit 23-035047. The applicant is Canadian Tire Limited. The property location is 3100 St. Edwards Drive. The purpose of the development permit is that a permit be issued which would permit exterior renovations to the facade of the existing building and improve landscaping and pedestrian connections at 3100 St. Andrews Drive or St. Edwards Drive, I should say, on a site zoned auto-oriented commercial.
Hello, good afternoon. I am the architect for this project engaged by Canadian Tire. I believe my colleague Andrea is on the call as well, but oh, there you are, Andrea. So yes, our store is located at St. Edwards at Bridgeport Road. Can everyone? No, my screen's not up. Apologies. There we are. There we are. These are some views of the existing tenant.
Sorry, Rebecca. We still don't have your share screen.
Oh,
here it goes. Thank you. Now we see it. Please
wonderful. I'll
proceed.
show you the cover page. There we are. Apologies. It's at the corner of St. Edwards Drive in Bridgeport. The previous tenant was The Brick. I'm not entirely sure how long they've been there, but the proposal is to renovate and rebrand the store as a Canadian Tire store. Canadian Tire, a couple of years ago, launched a new brand design guidelines entitled Concept Connect, and it brings in more wood-like features, darkens the color palette. So that is the intent, to apply this to the existing facades. These images don't speak directly to the project; they're just for reference. The existing site, this is an existing drawing. Actually, I'll go back to that. Sorry, I don't use Zoom very often, so I apologize. This is the site, the proposed work. We've introduced new pedestrian crossings. The bulk of the work has been addressing this parking field out front, adding landscape and accessibility connections throughout the site, and allowing for they have some e-com parking stalls out front, and then additional bike parking provided here. The facade improvements are, again, keeping with that Concept Connect design guidelines. Moving from left to right, the loading will be reworked to provide a garbage compactor, or a recycling compactor, sorry, and then maintain the truck bays for truck loading. The provision of awnings, currently at the Brick, there are awnings, and we understand that this is a requirement. There are some typical Canadian Tire signage, which are mounted here. The entry feature, the Brick entry feature, would be painted in our standard black with a nice logo up above, and then moving this wood element to the right of the building, and again, and then tucking the bicycle parking, both secure and typical racks. Here, the east elevation remains unchanged, with the exception of a new door to provide exiting for the rear of the building. We found that the exiting distances required the provision of a new exit at the rear. And then there is an existing door here, which would be infilled. On the rear of the building, new signage and new paint. And that's the extent of the work, facade work. And I have a couple of renderings here showing the approach. And then here is the landscape, the proposed landscape work. To allow for the Canadian Tire standard truck, we were required to cut back the curb here, and that's where you'll see the loss of these trees. It was just the clearance around the corner and make sure we weren't infringing on any street parking or anything, obviously. And then the new parking islands with trees, I believe they are deciduous, and then there are some shrubs, and lower, smaller scale plantings. That the work here is proposed in the areas directly surrounding the store. Now, I wanted to zoom in on, apologies. Can you still see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So one of the requests during our discussions with the city have been maintaining accessible clearances from east to west. So we have introduced a new crosswalk with curb let downs. We actually took out parking and enlarged this front pad area to allow for wheelchair access through there. The bicycle parking and lockers all provide that minimum 1.8 meter width. And then as far as continuing that path all the way to St. Edward's. And likewise, there was no path here before, but we're proposing bringing one through here. And that is the extent of my presentation.
Thank you very much. I think we have a good picture as to what is being proposed. Josh, any staff comments?
Just a few comments, if I may, Mr. Chair. So landscaping improvements, as indicated, are proposed within the parking areas. This includes the planting of 14 new trees on site. In addition to widening some of the sidewalks and creating those connections north, south, and east, west through the site, the applicant has worked with our staff in order to ensure that those pathways are accessible, including removing existing curbs and bollards to ensure that to improve accessibility to the site. Business signage, as shown on the plans, do not form part of the development permit and is subject to a separate sign permit application and separate city review. There is a servicing agreement associated with the proposal as indicated in order to modify the southeast driveway let down adjacent to Beckman Place. Any of the works included in this area, as well as any other building improvement works within the area that is covered by permits by third parties, such as Pembina, will require approvals prior to those works taking place.
All right. Thanks, Josh. Rebecca, you could stop sharing screen for the moment.
Okay.
Marie, any questions for staff for the applicant?
No, thank you for your presentation. I don't have any questions.
Just one question, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Is there opportunity to install EV chargers as part of a process like this? Is it the existing parking lot already has one?
Yes, actually, I do have another drawing. There'll be 25 or 26 EV chargers installed in the northeast corner.
Okay, and I noticed my last question, there was some loss of parking for some great reasons. Overall, does the site still meet the general parking requirements for commercial or the zoning?
I believe they are requesting a variance, but I will ask your staff to confirm. Apologies.
There is no variance associated with the proposal. The project does continue to meet the required parking needs on site. Also, with respect to the EV charging, not included within Canadian Tire's lease area, but east of the or west of the existing building, I believe is a proposed initiative to install a number of EV charging stations. That project's already underway.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No further questions. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you. I don't have a question as so much as a comment. I really appreciate the attention and to accessible pathways. It is one of the objectives of the city to ensure that we are as accessible as possible. And I just encourage your team, if you have not already started to work through the Pembina approval process, that you do so. It can be quite cumbersome, I understand, and that process will be, or those authorities will be needed prior to the improvements to Beckman Place as well as your building. So, and with that, Rustico, any members of the public or written correspondence?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have there's no one in chambers here to delegate on this item, and we have no correspondence for this item as well.
Okay, panel deliberation. Marie, Roland, any comments? Anyone willing to move the staff recommendation?
No further comments. Happy to move the recommendation.
Second, Mr. Chair.
All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you very much. Your project's been endorsed. It will proceed to council once you've addressed any of the prior two conditions.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Josh, any new business?
No new business, Mr. Chair. The next scheduled meeting of the development permit panel is April 30th, and we do have items on that agenda.
All right, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Move adjournment.
Great, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.